Hello, this is project one of our semester project. This is where we define our problem. So we are Allison Jones, Vicki Hilton, Hannah Murphy, and Victor Farrell. And our background is a junior high school that has recently been integrated by displaced families from housing projects. Most of these new students are African American. And not only are they poor, but they've lost a lot of their support. These students are disruptive and in the classroom, and the teachers and the administration are trying to figure out a new solution to help these new students.
Okay, our scenario, it is the first day of school where African American community are integrated into the system. The teachers don't know what to expect, but they plan their same lesson plans. A teacher took her 7th grade class out to do PE. She was beginning a soccer unit with her students, and when it came to play the game, the teacher split the students into teams. It quickly became apparent that the white students were mixed in with the black students. The new students are left out and avoided, and when they do play, fights break out.
Okay, so for the lesson plan, the PE teacher was doing a soccer unit, and so the objectives were that by the end of the game and discussion, students will know what the 4 skills are needed to be a successful soccer player, and that's dribbling, passing and receiving, shooting, goalkeeping. And by the end of the game, the students will understand the importance of working as a team and showing respect to each other during the game. So there's a couple equipment you need, and there's some warm-ups that they did, and then they did a dribbling exercise, and no problems arose in that. But then the teacher started asking questions like, how many of you have ever played on a soccer team, or how many of you have ever watched soccer on a TV? And many of these students, these new students that were very poor and not as privileged as the white students, weren't able to raise their hand because they hadn't had the expenses to play on an actual team or even watch it on TV. So the students immediately felt left out. And also, once the teacher split the students into 2 teams, the white students refused to play with the black students because they felt that they were different and that they weren't on the same level as them. And once the game started, some of the new students started fighting with the old students. And so the lesson plan had to be stopped, and the students had to be taken up to the office, and the whole lesson plan that the teacher had intended to make was ruined.
So here are some of the consequences of the scenario. The situation had a big impact on that day's lesson plan. The teacher wasn't able to have the students learn the 4 skills that they needed to, and because they weren't cooperating with each other. And the class was disrupted. Time was taken away from the students that did want to learn. And the teacher had to take time out of the lesson plan to take the students to the office and try to handle the situation, which was a difficult situation with these new students in their school. And the teacher also is going to need to find a way to explain to the families the consequences for fighting at school. Even though the students weren't being included, fighting is never allowed, and that's a district policy. So there's going to need to be some communication between the teacher and the families. Okay, so now we're going to have a little team discussion to talk about the problem and how in part 2 we can show a solution through role playing. So first, I think we all recognize that the students need some education and cultural awareness and respecting new students and that they might be different. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think also there needs to be some explaining done to the new students on what the standards and the policies are for the school, because they came from schools that didn't have the same standards and consequences and the same discipline as the school they're currently at now, and they're not used to having to be on time to class or to get along with their fellow peers or to work as a team with other students that aren't like them.
Yes. So what can we do with the families as a school and as teachers to help learn about cultural differences and how their old school handled things, and to communicate to them the new school rules in their new school district? What do you think? I think there's lots of options. A couple I was thinking of was to send letters home with all the new students. Maybe even send letters home to all students saying that there are a lot of new students at the school, you know, and to point out some differences and how we can help them to be successful in the school as peers, and maybe even having a meeting with the new families and going over, you know, the school handbook and how things are handled differently there. What do you guys have other ideas on how to handle that?
I was thinking that face-to-face contact, you know, between both sides of the situation, you know, both parents of both, you know, the students that have been there for a long time, and then the new students, you know, have their families all there at the same time. Face-to-face would be a good way to really air out any grievances or concerns or maybe, you know, solution ideas, you know, and then because I think that it would be good to have those letters sent out, you know, to kind of explain the situation, but then when it really came down to the nitty-gritty, to do that face-to-face, you know, with the district and the teachers and the parents. They're all
one with the teachers and the parents and the students together would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, go ahead.
I think one thing is that it comes down to the students and how they're going to treat each other. And so I think an important activity we could do is maybe like an all about me, where everyone is learning about each other and learning each other's cultures, and that some things are similar between them and not everything is different, and that they have similar interests and they can learn to respect each other.
I think that's a great idea. So that would go with maybe planning a solution as part of cultural awareness is maybe the whole school could have more types of activities in the classroom to help promote, you know, cultural awareness and appreciation for each other's differences and cultures. And finding the similarities, I think, focusing on the things that are the same.
Yeah.
That's true.
So for us, what do we plan to do in part 2 as our scenario? What should we do? Do you remember what we talked about?
Yeah, so because it is a PE class, I think it would make sense to line them all up on a line and discuss their differences in their cultures, and then have them race, because it is using physical education, and just do a cultural awareness activity.
Yes,
with the class.
I like that tie-in. All right, does anyone have anything final thoughts?
Nope.
No.
We're good.
All
Thank
right.
you everyone for watching.
Yep. Stay tuned for part 2.
Okay, I ended it.